Hi everyone, this is Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network. So glad to be here for another career conversation on Wednesday nights. We have a special guest with us, which is career coach and new BCWN career mentor, Althea McIntyre. Say hello, Althea, to our viewers.
Hi, BCWN.
So we're going to be talking tonight about part 2 of Your Career, Your Way. So we're bringing Althea in because she's got some really special things that she does with her clients that she coaches, and Althea is the CEO, founder, and of course career coach, or career expert, should I say, Best Career for Me. And you can actually look at her website at thebestcareerforme.com, and you can also find her at Twitter at is it Althea McIntyre, or is it by The Best Career for Me? I should know that.
Correct. It's Althea McIntyre.
But you can also find her on Twitter as well. For those of you who are viewing for the first time, make sure that you join to become a BCWN member at bcwnetwork.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and also on Facebook, and our handle is BCW Network, is our handle on both of those. For tonight's Google Hangout, if you are in the Hangout itself watching, you can type your questions in the Q&A box to us, or you can type your questions to us via Twitter or on Facebook, because we're going to be checking both of those to answer any question that you may have. Just to go into a few things before we start, I want Althea to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about her and about Best Career for Me. And we're so glad that you're part of the network now and actually a mentor and able to reach out to our members and give them some career advice. So Althea, just take it away, lady.
Okay, I'm so happy to be here. The power of social media, right? Because Sherry and I, we met on Twitter.
Yes.
Yes, we met on Twitter. So I am the owner of thebestcareerforme.com, and since 2005, I've coached hundreds of purpose-driven leaders and visionaries, specifically small business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurial-minded career professionals. And I've helped them change careers, launch new businesses, and increase their income doing meaningful work that they love. And a little bit about me, just quick thing. Before I opened thebestcareerforme.com, I was a corporate CPA for 9 years. So I am also a career changer.
You know what, and I like that, because I think a lot of us have, especially when we get to that mid-career level, we do make that shift and change careers. And I know that we're going to have a Google Hangout talking specifically with women who have been able to make that transition successfully to other careers. So we're going to be doing that really soon. So watch for details about that. And Althea's going to be on that one, aren't you, Althea? You're going to be on that one. Your story. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, just to kind of give you a couple of snippets about what we talked about last week, I really talked about 3 strategic ways to really change your career and do it your way. What I talked about was not so much solid and tangible things. I talked about things that were really going to be more or less, thinking outside the box in terms of being able to do that. Being resourceful, looking at what your strengths are, and using your value system, and those types of things is what I talked about in terms of strategies that you could use to look at, really, doing your career or changing your career and doing it your way. So tonight with Althea, we're going to be talking about 3 more additional things, and she's going to be sharing with us what that means for her and how she works with her clients in terms of these things. But then we're going to also, of course, have the Q&A, and then also sharing dialogue in terms of what those are. So those 3 things are going to be discovering your innate gifts, which I talk about that a lot. So to hear Althea's perspective is going to be fantastic, because I always love to hear someone else's perspective when it comes to, what does that mean when they work with other people like that. And then prioritizing your goals. We didn't really talk about that because, like I said, more of the things I was talking about were the internal things, the things that will bring you out your comfort zone and to move you away from the fear, so you can walk into the places of being able to really define and have the career you want and do it your way. And then again, designing an effective career blueprint. And that's something that in 2015 we will be doing more of, is helping to show and teach you how to really design a career blueprint for yourself and follow that. because the more confident you are, and the more that you know where your end result is going to be, or you know where you're going, the less stress you're going to put on yourself when it comes to putting up with the minute crap you put up with every day at work. And you don't need their validation to do that if you know exactly what your plan is and how you're going to get there. So those are some of the things that that we're going to be sharing. So let's just jump right in with both feet out there.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And let's talk about I want your definition of what you think about when you hear someone says doing their career their way. First, let's talk about that. What does that mean to you when you hear that, and if you share that with one of your clients, what does that mean to you?
For me, that means coming up with your definition of success. Not what your spouse says, not what your family says, not what society says.
Okay.
What does success look like and feel like for you?
So, and I think that's good, because what you're doing is you want it to be thought-provoking. They need to really think about what that looks like for them. But what if you get a client that says, I don't know, I really am not sure what that looks like for me? What do you do for that?
Well, I take them through a process, because, that is, if you don't know what success looks like, you might be climbing the ladder of success, but the ladder is against the wrong wall. So we always have to start there. And I love to start, in many ways, from a vision, because we know things happen twice, once in our mind and once in reality. And that's when we get to really tap into the creative side of us. We get to use our whole brain and really, define success, and also in very tangible ways, but be really creative and allow ourselves to want what we want. So,
no, I agree with that. So I just think I like your answer with that, because it's, sometimes I just like to hear other people's definitions of what that means, because what happens is that we think that when we say doing our career our way means that we have to be defiant and not do what we're, not really be subordinate and things like that in the workplace. That's not what we're saying. Now I ain't got to do what they tell me to do, because I'm going to do it my way. Well, yeah, but there's a way that you do it your way.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
There's a way that you do it your way. So I think that us starting out with discovering your innate gifts, like I said, I talk about to some people that, the best thing that you can do is, really discover your innate gifts. And one of the things I talk about a lot is knowing who you are as a professional. So with those two being combined, I talk to my clients and say, I want for you to define who you are as a professional, and you're discovering what your strengths or your innate gifts are, help to do that. So what do you do in terms of working with your, or what are some of the things that the women who are watching tonight can do in terms of discovering their innate gifts? I want to kind of hear what you feel like your strategy is and how they can do that as well.
Absolutely. And, one thing I really want to touch on is that your innate gifts, what you're naturally good at, it's like second skin to you. You were born with it. It was given to you. And so because it's like second skin to you, you often dismiss it. And so here's a couple things in which are not red flags, but yeah, we can say red flags. They're really pointing you to your innate gifts, is when you do a project or you do something and people say, wow, that was amazing. And you're like, it was no big deal. It just took me a second. It really wasn't that hard. And they're like, no, that was fantastic. So when you tend to dismiss a compliment that you received because for you it was no big deal, it was no big deal because it was innate to you. It's a natural gift that you have, and it was easy for you to do. So that's one, I call it a red flag. That's not like a bad thing. It's a green light. It's like, what's the other thing?
It is a green light, because what I share with them when we do our Strength Finder assessment is that is something that sleep. With there's no, I gotta do it, where it's just you're dragging your feet, and it's like it's taking every ounce of energy you have to get it done. It's like you said, it's second nature. You don't think twice about it.
Exactly. And I too use the strength finders. I love, 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 love strength finders.
Yes, I do
And
too.
I mean, and there's some, but what I don't want people to get caught up in is, I'm activator, I'm a, maximizer, I'm a relator. Okay, what does that actually mean? So another telltale sign, which you said, is you feel energized while working. You actually are like looking forward to it. Like time flies by. You don't want to stop working. You get more energy. Again, when you feel that way, those feelings, that's a green light. You're working in your innate gifts, your strengths, which is really connected to your purpose.
Right, and I just feel that when you are in tune with those strengths, those innate gifts that you have, that is how you can take control and design your career your way, because
Absolutely.
you know those things about yourself, and those to me are number one priority to discover before you make any other moves.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And yeah, you need to do that first. So tell me about that. So for the women who are viewing right now, say that we have some who have already discovered or know what their innate gifts are, and they're looking to make a shift and change careers, much like we have done. And when you're working with your clients, what's the next step? What do you share with them?
Right.
What's next now that they know what their strengths are?
Exactly.
I mean, for me,
right, and I really can relate. I mean, I was a CPA, okay? Yeah, I was behind the computer on my desk. In fact, sometimes I worked underground because I was doing bank audits, bank vault audits, underground behind the computer. Not in my gifts, not in my strengths, not in my potential. So even if you are, and what I realized is whenever there was an opportunity to do training, developing, or mentoring, oftentimes that was more often than not, it was volunteer opportunities at work. I raised my hand. I was like, I'm going to do it. And my last employer, people would say, oh, you're like Miss PWC. Because they thought, they're like, oh, you're just trying, whatever they thought. But for me is, I was doing volunteer work that energized me, that kept me alive. And so the more, and it was I was like, wow, I really have a distinct difference. I know in my soul the difference I feel when I'm doing these volunteer projects, and I love doing them.
Right.
So for you, the women in the network who are saying, okay, I want to make a career change, I have no idea where to begin. One place is, and it's not going to happen overnight necessarily, is start taking notes of when you feel energized while working, whether that's working your full-time job, or maybe it might be when you're in a ministry position at work or a volunteer position. When do you feel most energized? And that's going to be, again, the green light for you to say what position, what career path allows me to do those strengths, allows me to work in those strengths, and what position, because sometimes what I hear from a lot of my clients who are ready to make a significant career move, but they're not clear on the exact steps they need to make. They're not sure, is it changing jobs? Is it changing careers? Is it moving into the not-for-profit? They're not clear, so it's just overwhelming. But like you said, actually it's really the third step I have in my proprietary process, is really focusing on your strength. The first one is determining what you want for your career, defining what success looks like. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that help answer the question, Sherry?
No, it's completely right on target in terms of that, because I think that's where you start. I love the fact that you feel the same way I do about the Strength Finder. I know there's other career coaches in the network that mentor, and that they specifically, they have their own set of career assessments that they like to use, which is fine. But I really strongly believe that the Strength Finder assessment gets right down to the core business of where we need to be working and looking at to make the shift and those changes necessary, so you can set yourself up for success, and be attracted to the roles for the right reason, and not because of how many zeros may come behind the offer
or the title.
Right.
or the
Absolutely.
title.
Yeah.
I like the strength assessment, but I also do some very, ornate, very just, like I just said, that's not an assessment necessarily to notice when you feel energized. That's my assessment. Notice when you feel energized. And so that does require you to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
It does require you to push the pause button and not, and really that's the reflection, that inner work.
And I think that was so funny she's saying that because I have a client I'm working with now, and she's probably watching. I'm not going to say her names. I don't want her thinking I'm semi-calling her out. But but her and I have been working together, and we, of course, using the Strength Finder, and through our strengths overview that I do as part of the second part of the process, we go over all of these strengths together and look at and we look at them from a perspective of whether you're, kind of like, what's your strong, what you need the most, what you do, what you're best at, what's your power and edge to certain things, things like that. And
Yeah.
so it was, we're going through this and we're talking about specific things, and she's sharing with me some things that's going on at work. And I kept hearing these. I said, why? Nobody likes her? This is so weird to have nobody like you at the job, or they don't want to speak to you. And then when she started sharing some more things with me, I was like, you're a snitch. But I will say this.
But you told her what she needed to hear.
Yes. But because one of her strengths is belief. And when you have a top strength that is belief, your value system is really the solid core of why you do everything that you do. And you have a strong conviction towards those things based on your value system. So when she saw specific things that she felt like was inappropriate or not, or she felt like, oh, that shouldn't be happening in the workplace or whatever, she would tell those things because in her mind, it's not part of her belief system. It's not part of what she values in the workplace. And everybody has a value system, don't get me wrong. But when you have that in your top 5, that's very strong. And
that makes complete sense. For her, that's normal. This is
it's normal behavior.
Not do it. I'm drawn. I'm compelled because that's my strength. Right.
And so that's, for me, it made so much sense why she was actually not being able to build these relationships and move forward in her career and was getting these roadblocks, is because part of this environment that she's in is not really conducive to her belief system, which is one of her strengths. And it just was not designed to help to set her up to be successful the way the environment, the corporate environment is, and she couldn't take time out to assess it. So someone else who didn't have a belief in their top 5, and that would have happened to them, then I'd be like, okay, you're not playing the game, and you should know better. But when you have belief in there in that top 5, that's hard to do.
Well, sure, you brought up 2 points. One really important point, then I want to talk about something else I do, is that organizational culture. Remember, I talked about defining what success looks like for you. You have to be clear of what's the culture you naturally thrive in. And that culture should align with your value systems.
Absolutely.
So, you don't want to, and you just said her beliefs, which is her strengths, were not in alignment with that organizational culture.
No.
It's like the vegetarian working in the butcher shop. It will not work. So you really want to, when you're doing your definition of success and looking at your strengths, you want to make sure that's in alignment. And for the entrepreneurs, guess what? You are your culture. So as far as entrepreneurs, your organizational culture is your value system. So you want to make sure that's in alignment when you're doing hiring, when you're looking for joint venture partners, even when you're looking to prospecting clients. When your value systems are all in line with those individuals, it's going to feel almost seamless.
That's true, and we talked about that on our Real Career Talk call yesterday afternoon, talking about making sure that your personal values are in line with the company's and vice versa, because if they're not, there will be some conflict there.
Yes.
And so I think going back to my client with having the belief be in her top 5. Yes, do we have a responsibility to assess the company culture? Find out what the hidden workplace rules are so we can adapt, especially when we're coming into a new environment or a new role. Absolutely. That's our responsibility, is to find out what that is. But when you have more responsibility, when you have a belief in your top 5, because you have to think about that more than anybody else, whether this is going to be right for you, because you're going to have the most problems versus someone who can probably adjust and adapt and maybe have a little bit of leeway to stretch and compromise on specific things in the workplace when it comes to that.
Yes, excellent point. Excellent point. Sherry, you asked about another assessment, and this is another tool that I have my clients do, is that oftentimes, so I work with people, have 18, 20, 25, 30 plus years of experience. I work with some people less than that, but on average, my clients are between the ages 38 and 55. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I have all this work experience. I mean, what are you talking about identifying my innate gifts and strengths? I'm good at everything. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
I know that you feel that way. So one of the things to do is to look at your favorite projects. And there's a couple definitions that I define your favorite projects. And really look at those favorite projects and pull out the common themes and the common denominators, and your strengths will emerge. Mm-hmm. When you really look at, again, not your 20 plus, not all the projects you've done, your 20 plus year career, that's overwhelming. No, narrow it down to your favorite projects, your ideal projects, and begin looking at the common denominators, and your strengths, your innate gifts, talents, and strengths will emerge.
No, I agree with you completely on that. And sometimes when you have those seasoned professionals that have all that experience, you have some who are open and will embrace recognizing those things, and some are a little bit more difficult to work with because they didn't, they're sometimes the hardest to want to come out that shell and really, change and do what it takes to change too. Sometimes I find that. But what you're saying is dead on, right? Because sometimes they are the ones who, they may, and like for me, even with my strengths, I didn't even recognize some of the things that I was doing were really natural innate strengths. I just figured I liked them. I liked it, so it was good. But not knowing that I really could have honed in on that and really tailored something that would have been just right for me, and that every task that I'm doing within what I'm doing, I would love. And that it doesn't have to be so painful to do other things in combination of the things I like to do as well.
Right, and it's an ongoing process. I mean, I too still look at, what are my strengths, because we want to get to the point where we're working in our brilliance. I mean, there's some things that we can, we can do and we're okay at it. But the ultimate goal is, where can I be 100% in my strengths? So I too really look at what are my, where am I in my strengths? What clients, what projects did I naturally excel in? Were fun and easy for me to do? Did I set and break records? So it's not okay, check, I got it, check mark, I'm done with this. No, this is an ongoing process if you want to continually grow and thrive in your career.
I love what you said when you said about the brilliance, about working in your brilliance, when it comes to, your strengths, because that is so, that to me is very profound what you said, because it's like taking these strengths and developing them more.
Yes.
Growing into these more, and being, like you said, being brilliant at, what you naturally are, naturally able to do. But let's talk about prioritizing your goals, because now that you recognize what you're good at, you definitely have to prioritize specific things in your life so you can, if you are already good at it, or develop the strengths that you may not be working so much in. How are you going to prioritize things so you can develop those things and start working in your brilliance, like you said?
Exactly. So I'm talking to the women, and if there's some men watching who may have a goal list of, okay, this year I want to be promoted. I also want to write my book. I want to launch my blog. I want to change careers. And yes, I want to lose 50 pounds. And yes, I'm in the process of moving. That's setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. And I know for high-achieving, high performers who have huge visions for their life, it might seem reasonable that you can pack in all of that in the 24-hour schedule. I mean, in your mind, you're like, that doesn't sound like too much. Yes, it is. And I kind of was a little, exaggerated. However, I work with high-performing, driven individuals who have a big vision for their life. And listen, I am that too. Sometimes I set these goals like slow down, Althea. Like, it looks good on paper, that's not possible.
Right.
Here's the question you need to ask yourself. What's the number one goal, if successfully achieved in the next 12 months, would have the greatest impact on my career or business?
That's a very good, profound question, prolific question at that. That definitely would warrant some for some people to think about.
Yes.
And being able to answer that question honestly about where they are now, but then what are they going to do to get there?
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is, for my private clients, when we work in a year-long program, it's no more. They're not focusing on no more than 3 goals. 2 of them are professional. 1 is personal. Personal can be anywhere from confidence, self-love, communication, effective communication. So I'm with my clients, and we're really like, what's the one goal? Because oftentimes we have a lot of tasks, but if we achieve that one major goal, the big one, the umbrella, the other ones will fall in alignment. Or we have to be honest with ourselves and say that tough question. You know what? Because I want to be successful, because I want to feel, enjoy my success, I'm going to have to push that goal to the side. Yeah. And that can be very tough, but you have to look at what's the cost. What am I going to gain by saying, okay, I'm going to table that goal? So that's how you begin to prioritize. You really have to have a heart-to-heart question with yourself. When you're working with a coach, they should have that heart-to-heart question with you. And then so you have that goal, and I always like to say, how do you want to feel while you're achieving that? Because you can, I just read a quote by Oprah, and I'm probably gonna butcher it. She's like, it doesn't matter, how many mountains you climb if you're not enjoying the peak.
Well, that, as we say around here, you can drop the mic on that one.
That's Oprah.
But because it's true, and I even think about all the time that I spent working in human resources, and there were specific tasks that I would love to do, and others I would cringe at, and it's not because I was not good at them. It's just that I just didn't feel it. I just wasn't feeling doing some of these things. But there were certain things, again, in the roles that I thrived in, and I did fine. But when I made this shift, and when I got to the point where I wanted to change careers and become, and I really honestly didn't set out to be a career coach. I didn't. And I was wanting to take my experience in HR and use it in a different way. And I told you this story already.
Right.
And I didn't know what it was going to be. But when I, heard about the whole career coaching thing, which I never thought about doing, my eyes lit up. I came alive when I heard about it. And then, then I discovered the Strength Finder assessment during this journey of becoming a coach. And I was like, it was like destiny bells of the heavens opened up the sky. It was almost as if somebody in divine, this angel was telling me, you are right where you need to be, and your strengths are right in line with what you're doing, because everything was so natural and innate to me when it comes to facilitating, when it came to presenting, when it came to being able to coach and really help them to naturally put together what these things look like. And really, they're like, well, how would you know that? Well, working in HR for 12 years, and when you're doing generalist work and when you're doing corporate recruitment, and you're doing this from anywhere from, from somebody from $10 an hour to 6 figures, roles, it's kind of like you just kind of know. Mm-hmm. So it just, for me, it all made sense.
Yes, yes.
And from there, I discovered things about myself in terms of talents and gifts that I had that I never knew that were there. But I knew there were things that I could do. It's just I was never positioned for the opportunity for those things to come out. So I think, with that being said, when we talk about prioritizing our goals, and I heard you saying volunteering, don't you agree we have to position ourselves for these opportunities to allow these other things to grow?
Yeah, we definitely have to position ourselves for opportunities. Tell my clients, because my clients are purpose driven, we go after opportunities. We don't chase money.
Right.
So you have to not only position yourself, you have to literally go after the opportunity. And what's going after the opportunity? Sending the email, making the phone call, sending the tweet. When you see an opportunity that's in line with your number one goal, right? So if if you have a goal, if you're clear on your goal, and this is why prioritizing your goals and saying, I'm going to focus on this. And what I know I'm going to focus on, and then I'm clear on what are the steps that I need to take to get there, then it's easier. It does take courage, it does take confidence to go after it, because I'm so focused on that number one goal. Because Sherry, we all know that staying focused is our number one challenge these days.
Oh God, yes. It's huge.
And the second is staying positive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why prioritizing your goals, again, starting with what's the number one goal that I, would have the greatest impact on my career, and then what are the steps that I need to take after, and then going after those opportunities and setting yourself up, or as you say, positioning yourself for those opportunities.
So when you're working with your clients, I like how you make them focus on one thing. And when you come from corporate America, and we all know, because I tell this people realistically, when you're looking for a new job and you look at that job description, you can get happy if you want to, but you trust and believe you could be doing more than what's on that job description. And it's the truth. And it may not be anything that's so profound to where it would change your salary, your salary grade, or your pay grade. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the volume of the work you do, where, you may think, oh, I can do it in an 8-hour day. You may end up working 10, 12, 13-hour days to get it done. So okay. I was thinking about those things from that perspective in terms of, these prioritizing the goals, because, when you come from that environment and you're used to being stretched so thin, you're multitasking so much, that's so hard for some people to stop and just focus on one thing and thinking because they're just focusing on one thing that they're not being as productive as they could be. And that's not very true, because really in smart reality, you should be focusing on one thing at a time.
Right. So a couple things. Here, a scattered focus leads to scattered results.
Yes. Good one. That's a good one, Althea. That's good.
And so entrepreneurs have laundry list of a to-do list.
Can I show you mine?
I know, right? And so, Sherry, we had this experience today. Everyone who knows me, I am a low-tech, high-touch person. I get overwhelmed with technology very easily. We weren't able to get my, picture and my business name on there because I'm the IT person in my business right now, and I couldn't get that going. And that's another thing on my to-do list that was not on it today. So what am I saying? Here's what when you have to focus and you have to prioritize, it's about keeping what's important.
Yes.
If you are serious about changing your careers, changing your job, launching a business, whatever your number one goal is, you're going to have to say no. You're going to have to say no. You're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to remove yourself from some responsibilities. You're going to have to unsubscribe from some emails. You're going to have to do whatever it takes. And I just shared this in my newsletter, and I say if it's simply an interest, you'll make an excuse, but if something like if it's important, you'll find a way.
Yeah. So tell me this, what if you have someone, and I know that the level that you work with may not necessarily, they're more of a higher level client, right? But in BCWN, we have women that are in all levels of their careers, from entry level college, people who just graduate from college, all the way up to C-suite, right? So
Right.
with that in mind, let's talk about that woman, because this is just me.
Yeah.
The woman who, or the man, because we probably got some men watching, but
I am.
but the woman who is that entry level, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years into her career, and really wants to know what's next, and she's not able, or doesn't, she's not in a position where she can delegate.
Okay, I love this question because you know what? I remember, I started at the bottom of the totem pole of a finance department, a 12-person finance department.
Right.
Okay, so I remember that, and I remember so when I say delegate, there's a couple things. I remember another position I had a really hard time. I had to do 18 bank recs. Remember, when I'm coming from the accounting, and I could not get my bank recs. I do 18 bank recs per month. Oh my Lord! And one of my colleagues, she now has her own CPA firm. She whipped them out. And I was really good at organizing and doing the paperwork. I delegated, when I was stuck on my bank recs, I delegated them to her, and then I did her filing. So we have to be creative. Sometimes when you don't even have someone to delegate to, I'm talking really, we got to be creative. Who can help me do it? So, and I really want those who feel like, oh yeah, I'll be a delegate, I don't have people underneath me. You really need to think, is there someone, a colleague of yours, who's really good at something that you can ask them to help you do something, and you can swap roles? And also when I'm saying, also when I'm talking about delegating and being serious, when I decided to go back and get my graduate degree while working full-time, while traveling with work, I was on a board of an organization. I had to say no. Even though it was dear and near to my heart, I had to get, is doing my graduate school work, was my number one goal. Getting my graduate school work. And I had to look through all the responsibilities I had and say, I can no longer do that. I can no longer do that. I can no longer do that. It was a tough decision. But when I got focused, that was my number one goal. And I had to, let go of some of my outside activities that served me professionally,
Right.
And personally. But I had to focus on my number one goal.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point too, that what is the most important thing to you, and when you make that choice, how is it going to impact the future and where you want to go? And so that's being very strategic in what you're trying to do, which I think is exactly what you did. So I think that I say that to say that I like that you said that's where building the relationships in the workplace comes in. So where you can stop, when you can say, hey, can you do this for me, and I'll do this for you next week, and being able to do that. And that's smart. It's thinking outside the box. It's very strategic. And my hope is that whoever's watching, it does help someone who feels like they're in that role, that they're unable to delegate, and they're thinking it's just a leadership thing because they don't have a team they report to. But again, being very smart and strategic, like you said, and doing it with the coworker, I think that to me, like you said, is that's how you work in your brilliance, because you're being resourceful.
Thank you.
I believe in being resourceful when it comes to that, because I just put a Facebook message out about that, about thinking outside the box, and how we can't go. Sometimes we all can't go through the straight and narrow way to get to where we want to be, and we got to go through the front door, the back door, the side door, the basement.
Yes, and I want to share, and I love that because, my clients are brilliant, resourceful, and whole. We just have to tap into that. And I remember, I can say this now, it's a long time. I was working at an organization. I had this spreadsheet that I couldn't figure out. I was the lead, and so I didn't feel the time to, ask my team to figure it out. And, I'm just being transparent. I remember, calling a friend of mine who's also a board member, and I guess I broke down and started to cry. I was like, overwhelmed. And he's like, send me the spreadsheet. I sent him the spreadsheet, because he was gifted in that. Send it back to me. That's how I delegated, that's probably illegal. But I needed help, and I thought of who could help me, who had those gifts, who was really good in spreadsheets, because we'd worked on a board together. He had manage the spreadsheet for this organization. So I sent it to him. He fixed it in like, 3 minutes, sent it back, and also sent me a Hallmark card because I was having a breakdown. So yes, you do have to be resourceful and creative. And if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you're just getting entrepreneurial training and getting paid for it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, and I had just shared with someone last night that, they inspired to be an entrepreneur. And I said, it's not just about this whole, building this business and the operations piece. You are going to grow from this as an entrepreneur, and you are going to have to develop certain things about your skill set and your abilities as a business owner. You're going to be constantly growing.
Yes.
Yourself. It's not like it has nothing to do with like I'm arrived, because that's far from it. There's no arrival. There's no arrival, honey. You
right.
have to do the work, and you have to continue to develop. And I think that being an entrepreneur is more challenging when it comes to those disciplinary areas and being structured. And yeah, you have the freedom to create your own culture, like you said, but then you have no one to tell you, Sherry, you need to, you really need to kind of, do your books this month. You hadn't done them yet. You know what I'm saying? Or you need to follow up on that email from last week because you're wrong because you should have called them back. So, I mean, and I'm not saying I do that, people. I'm just using myself.
I love this because it's so interesting. There's a side, and maybe we should have a Google Talk on the other side of entrepreneurship where, and I love being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's phenomenal. And some of my new entrepreneurs, it's like, I was so ready to break free of that structure. Now it's like, I want that structure. You got to build that structure, right? Like, no one is going to, that structure that could confine us at in the corporate environment. Once we leave, we're like, oh my gosh, like, can someone just create that structure for me? Well, they can, and that would be you.
And you have to do it. I mean, yeah, it might be great freedom to be able to establish the culture the way you want it, but then you've got to maintain that consistently, and then you need specific skills about yourself in order to sustain that. So it's a whole different, it's a whole different ball game, and I think it shouldn't be glamorized. It is, but it shouldn't be because, it is a lot of work, and yeah, there is a certain amount of time and the freedom you have from it, but there's a lot more to that. And when I accepted that, because I never, somebody told me 5 years ago that I'd have been doing this and I'd have been working for myself, I'd have been like, you a lie. That's not going to happen because I did not set out for this, but this is the way kind of things developed into this. But I say that to say is that, you really have to look at, is it worth it? And for me, one of the profound questions that came in for me is that I'm already working 12, 13, 14-hour days, and sometimes I am, when I was working in HR for the volume of the work that I was doing. So why not do that for myself?
Mm.
So I'm thinking I'm already tired. I'm waking up with the laptop and answering emails. I'm going to bed, with it in my lap, falling asleep. And then when I got to the point to where I decided to change careers, it wasn't happening as much, but I still had a very heavy volume workload, and there were some dynamics within the internal culture that was just intolerable. Okay. So I think for me, it was really a no-brainer to say, I'm already working like this now. Why not do that now? So if I want to work a 15-hour day, at least if I want to take a nap at 12 noon until 2:30, I can do that and get up and work till 10 o'clock that night if I want to. So that's the kind of things that I think for me was important to say, I'm still going to work. And there's some times where I'm working till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. But that's my choice. You know what I'm saying? But I know that I don't have to be somewhere at 8 o'clock the next morning. I can sleep until, till I wake up and then start it all over again if I want to. Right. So that was important for me, that I can still be effective in my job and what I'm doing now to build this, but still know that I'm not working any less than what I was working for somebody else. I'm just doing it my way now.
Yes. Oh, and that ties back into your way. And and just a side note, I know for me, when I decided to leave my corporate accounting position, I had moved back to the Chicago area from Washington, D.C. because my father was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and I was one of his caregivers. And that was also when when I landed the position, that my last corporate position in Chicago. They asked me to move to Milwaukee, and there was going to be a promotion, and I said no. I had to go back to what was then one of my number one goals. Like, I moved from DC to Chicago to be with my father, to be a caregiver. Okay, and so this, again, when we talk about defining what success looks like for you, and this is tying into what's your number one goal, I said no to certain opportunities that work because I wanted to stay true to my values.
Yes.
And I was okay with whatever consequence that had work-wise. And when you are faced with a loss of a loved one, a serious health illness, maybe you witness an accident, you approach certain milestone birthdays, as they like to say, you really start to ask, about the meaning and the purpose comes into light. For me, it came pretty early, and I wanted to do the work that God had me to do.
Right.
And so, and I also wanted to be able to be with my family. So that kind of ties it up and connects with you in terms of your, career your way. So.
No, I think that's good, because you do have to think about that. I mean, yeah, especially now that, I'm getting to that point. My daughter's got 1 year of high school left, and it's like I'll be an empty nester soon. I know that that's going to really open up for me to really focus a lot more. I mean, not that I'm not focused now, but really now where I'm, I do have to prioritize my time a lot more, because I do have, a daughter who wants my attention still as a teenager, believe it or not, and that, and now have something that really can help to keep me preoccupied. My family all lives in a different state. I mean, we don't have any relatives here where we are. So, I think for me, that would be hugely important in terms of being able to be closer to family. Something like this could give me the opportunity to move closer and build that with them, which is really important to me. But let's go ahead and talk about designing an effective career blueprint. And I know you and I, it sounds like we do have a similar story, because I know we talked about this before, about how we've come into these roles that we're in now, and it's not like we set out to be this. We may have already had the natural innate gifts to do it, but of course, life circumstances and choices that we may have kind of led us to this, to this journey. So, but for other people who want something more structured in terms of, how are they going to create this blueprint? And I love the fact you say blueprint, because that's one of the words that we're using to design something specifically for the women in terms of this blueprint of how they can design that. So I love the fact that you're using that already. But let's talk about them creating an effective career blueprint and what that looks like, or what it should look like. And well, it's going to look differently for everyone. But what are some of the standard things that you put into your blueprint for your clients? And then also, someone who is not where they want to be, we're talking someone who's entry-level or mid-career, and they're trying to get to that place.
Okay. So one of the things it's very clear is that you need a plan. You need a plan that's going to direct you, to tell you what actions you need to take on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. And you need a plan and a blueprint that fits to your unique situation, because everyone's situation is unique. Mm-hmm. So for the professionals ready to make a meaningful career move, they want to identify their ideal career path or position that brings together their expertise, their strengths, their experiences, their career passion. So they're really focused on clarity. And so one of the let me back up. One of the things that I talk about in my blueprint, I don't want my clients to do more than 1 to 3, because I'm talking about clients who are gainfully employed and just they have a lot on their plate. It's about 1 to 3 things you're doing every day. I'm going to say that again. 1 to 3 things every day, not Monday, Thursday, and then the following Tuesday. What are the 1 to 3 things you're doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? For some clients, I like to say take the weekends off. Other time, I just like to say that because if you're working, a full-time job, and I tell my clients to block out 90 minutes a day to work on their career. So in your day, find 90 minutes. Some people say I can't find 90 minutes, and they're effective with 30 minutes. So that's, again, how the blueprint is customized. But it's every day, okay? So for that individual who wants clarity to find out what's the work I'm meant to do, one of the steps could be what we talked about in the beginning. For over a 7-day to 30-day period, identify the work where you feel energized, where you feel alive. That might be one of the things you do, and really record it. Document what you were doing. What was the projects? Who are you working with? Really, that might be one of your things that you do. Right. Another thing, and it's actually once you're clear on your goal and you prioritize the time, that 90 minutes every day, and then you create the blueprint. You work backwards to that goal. Then it becomes easy. And when I work with my clients, I work very collaborative. So it's not necessarily you need to do this. Now I have a 7-week class where I actually give 107 different ways that you can create your blueprint. If you're like, I don't know what to do, I have 107.
That's nice.
Yeah. And it's broken down based on your goal. Here, if you say I don't know what to do, I'm going to give you 107 to pull from. But what I find is when you really sit down and you look at that goal, people, and I coach my clients, and you can come up with them, but in this class I give 107. So another one, just give it a real tangible example, might be, let's say, like myself, I was a CPA, aspiring coach. Why don't you go to attend a professional association of coaches? Hang out with in the industry you aspire to be in. That could be, so your one activity that day or that week would be going to that event.
Right.
So really, I like simple plans that's going to direct your attention. I also feel in your blueprint you have to set up for accountability, because staying focused is our #1 challenge, and everyone has procrastination. So your plan has to be simple and effective, that also has to build in accountability.
Yeah.
Keep you on track. And there should also be a tracking system, because what we track, we do.
Right. You need to set up, you need to benchmark certain things to show your progress. So I agree with that completely, that you definitely need to be staying on top of that and benchmarking your progress. As you go along with that. So I like that. I love the whole 107 ways, girl. You come up with all those.
Oh, and I have actually more, but I was like, let me not overwhelm, because I don't want people to get overwhelmed.
Well, I think 107 is enough. And if you can't pick out what you need from that.
Exactly. And actually, I have it broken down, like, if you're trying to change careers, is what you need to focus on. Like, I have them in 107, it's actually broken down by sections, so that, again, to help you focus, this is what my goal is, this is what would you focus on. The other thing I say, and this is very important, the blueprints that I help my clients design, I love 30-day blueprints. Mm-hmm. I love that, because especially when you're in a career transition and you're doing that deep discovery work and that clarity work, you're going to get insight and information. When I was, in my career change, I have a passion for dance. I was born to dance, and I actually thought that, because there's a difference between a career passion and a hobby, and I distinguish that in my course, but I thought maybe I would do something in dance, so I actually explored dance, movement therapy, and so when you're in that exploratory stage, if you have a blank slate about where you want to go, you want to give your time 30 days, because information is going to come out, insight. And then you can create your next blueprint. So many times we're trying to, and again, it depends on the individual, we're trying to think too far out. We're trying to have everything together before we take action. That's not how it works. You take action, you get feedback. You get clarity, and you take action again.
That's true, because I love to decorate. I guess you can see that from my office. I love to decorate. Had I in another life probably would have, been an interior designer, maybe yes or no, because there are certain aspects to being an interior designer that I don't like. And so for me,
yeah, right.
I don't think it would have really served my strengths as much as I am drawn to that type of work. I still think that knowing what my top strengths are right now at this stage in the game, I'll be like, you know what, I don't know if I would really be successful at that, but that's knowing who I am. You know, there would be aspects of that job that I would be great at, and others I would massively struggle with, because one, I don't care for math. Yes, can I add and subtract and divide and do some algebra? Absolutely. But there's certain things about the math piece and the measurements and all those numbers that comes into the complaint that part just goes, I'm just like, I don't like all that.
Yeah, and it's so important to know that. I mean, I have clients who came to me and they were dabbling because they have a passion. They're very creative, and actually one of them is Jantina Anderson. She's on my website, so I can say her name, and HR leader, and she's very creative, and she was dabbling, doing interior design and styling and never sticking to it. Those were her hobbies. But when she worked with me, we got clear of her purpose, which is urban education.
Right.
Now,
but she still could be creative in that role. You know, she still could use her creativity in that role.
Exactly. And then when that happened, when we got that clarity, that's the position that she's meant to do, that type of work, and it comes all together. She got in her PhD program in urban education, and and so she's now, a career changer, working full-time as an HR manager, also going and getting her PhD. She's also an aspiring entrepreneur. And then we also, in the deep work, we clarified what was the best fit organizationally for her. So she changed jobs, because this is, part of the career change. It's like you said, it's not linear. Please, it's not linear. Mm-hmm. And then she changed job, and it's a better fit for her, making more money while she does her change. But it all came from that discovery work and distinguishing what's her ideal career path, and distinguishing between her career passions and her purpose and her hobbies. Very distinct difference.
Yes, and it all has to make sense. The choices have to make sense, Yes. So it can't be you just jumping all over the place until that all happens. It has to be consistent, and it has to be where it's taking you to the next step.
Yes.
So, for someone who may be mid-career, or maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years into their in the workforce, every position you take should be able to take you to the next level, whatever that is. If you can get a good handle and grip on who you are as a professional early on, it does make it a lot easier.
Oh my gosh! You can't start soon enough.
You really cannot. You really cannot. But I love these three, and I thank you so much. We've got a couple more minutes left before 9 o'clock, and I know that we want to make sure that we give people offer hearing time for Blackish and Empire and right. Watch, so tonight, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing these. And I know one thing I wanted to share with you guys is that Althea is getting ready to start a new. Well, I'll let you tell her about. I'll let her share it with you. And then I'll tell you what we're gonna be doing after. So Althea, tell them what you got coming up next week.
Yeah, this is really exciting. So I have my 7-week masterclass, Transform Your Career online class. It's for people who are ready to make a significant career move, whether that's changing jobs, changing careers, launching a new business, starting a non-for-profit, or maybe if you've been a freelancer or self-employed for some time and you're ready to go back to 9 to 5 position, but you're not clear on the exact steps you need to take to make it happen. So in this 7-week course, I'm going to personally guide you through my proven career transformation system. You're going to get clarity of your ideal career path and position. You're going to uncover and discover your strengths. You're going to create your personalized blueprint so you can successfully transition into your ideal career path or position. You're going to learn how to overcome the fears and self-doubt that's holding you back. And you're going to learn how to take continuous action. So it starts next Tuesday, March 3rd. It's an amazing class. It's for people who are really committed to doing the work that they're meant to do, and they just want to learn from someone who's done it for themselves and helped thousands, or not thousands, I shouldn't say that, not thousands yet, but hundreds do it for themselves as well, so they can avoid the common pitfalls and mistakes. And I have a special offer for the BCWN network. So if you're not a member, if you haven't joined, you want to sign up now. This is a really amazing offer. Sherry's going to give you access to that. And we start next Wednesday. For those who are curious right now about the course, you can go to my website, thebestcareerforme.com. Go to Work with Althea and scroll down to 7-week masterclass. You're going to get all the details there. And you want to join and be a member of the BCWN because there's a really awesome discount that Sherry's going to share with you. So if that's you, I'd love for you to join and work with me and work with others starting next Tuesday.
Well, you know, the page, what she's talking about as far as being able to have a special access to the special discount is going to be for our members only. So if you are not a member of BCW, you definitely need to join at bcwnetwork.com and click on register to do that, and then that will give you access to the page where you're able to see the information about Althea's upcoming event. And it's virtual, is that correct?
It is virtual, so there's already people from around the country. I work with clients in various industries, so that's really exciting. So you're going to be in a community of like-minded, purpose-driven leaders and visionaries. And I'll just say you're going to get 7 live training calls, weekly training calls. If you can't attend, you're going to get an MP3 recording of each call. So if you can't attend live or you want to listen, you'll get that. Each week, you're going to get an action workbook with handouts, scripts, worksheets that literally guide you through the work, so there's no guesswork. So you can see I designed this for you to be successful. And I keep this course relatively small so you have the accountability, so you can get the personal attention. And there's some other really just amazing features that's a part of the course. So you can get all those details on my website about thebestcareerforme.com. Work with Althea, and then scroll down, and Sherry's going to share it with you. So, I want you to
what we'll be doing is that we'll look for the event page with the information about her upcoming event. It will also have the information where you can receive a special discount for being participating in her event. And so that will be a posting later on tonight on our website under our events section, and that's where you'll be able to find that for those of you who will be interested in being part of her program. Althea is great at what she does. She gets right to the core of it, especially using the innate strengths, the blueprint. I mean, the 107 ways. I mean, I think that's just phenomenal. I mean, there's just no way you can't put the clarity together if you got that many ways to do it.
And that's only one of the worksheets. Imagine each week you actually, it's like the handout is about a dozen. So it's I designed it to be successful. It's like this is the course that I wish I had.
Well, I'm so glad that. Thank you so much for being on with us. Being on with us tonight with our viewers, and we definitely need to get you back on here so we can do some more of this. And I want to also thank our viewers for watching tonight. And Saturday afternoon from 11 to 1, we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio, which is about an hour from Cincinnati. But we're going to be there for their first local BCWN event, Meet, Greet, and Motivate. And so they're going to be sharing, really about what the network is all about and growing their presence in Columbus. So they're going to be there. Saturday afternoon, and we're going to be sharing, letting them know all about, what we do. And then, of course, next week, join us for our Tuesday Real Career Talk, Real Answers teleconference call. And if you missed the one yesterday, I was on fire. And we really had some nice, engaging, solid, great questions from the women who were on. And so next week, we'll be doing it. We do it every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And sometimes we have guests, and sometimes our BCWN career mentors will just pop up and be on the call. You never know who's going to be on the call when it comes to some of the dynamic women that are mentors and coaches and experts that are in our network. So you just never know when someone of them are going to pop up on the call. So also, too, in a couple of more weeks, I believe it's going to be March 11th, we're going to have another career conversation topic to be announced, because I'm going to leave that a little secret till we get closer to the time. But I think you'll love the surprise. And then I just want to leave you with a couple of things. I've been sharing this quote on our calls, and I want to share it on our career conversation, because I do feel is that I don't want women to ever get discouraged and feel like there is no way that they don't have any options, or they feel stuck and thinking there's no way they can actually grow their career, make more money, or get closer to their dream job, because there is a way. And that's what BCWN is here for, is that to be a community, a village, and a tribe for a support of Black women who are here for you, to be able to be there to give you the tools and the encouragement and the confidence you need to make those things happen. So I want to leave you with two quotes. The first one is by a famous, well-known pastor. I will not say her name, so I won't offend nobody. But her quote is, "The life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living."
Ooh.
So think about that.
Love it.
God has given you every resource, every innate natural gift to be who you want to be. Discover what that is and do it. So I'm going to leave you with my quote. And my quote is, know your worth, discover your strength, and work in your purpose. So until next, March 11th, you guys have a great evening. I'm going to tune off, and so is Althea, and I'm going to watch Blackish, and then I'm tuning in for Empire. So until a couple of weeks, I hope to hear some of you guys on the Tuesday call, and then 2 weeks from now, we'll definitely be doing a career conversation. Until then, good night, everybody. Tweet things out what you experienced from the hangout, and also share it on Facebook, and I'll talk to you soon. Althea, stay on the line, okay?
Okay.
All right, good night, everybody.